What really happened at Custer's last stand, not from a general's perspective, but from a fighter who was there, riding, struggling, and surviving the gore-soaked ground of the Little Bighorn. This is the account of Wooden Leg, a Cheyenne soldier who lived through the ordeal. Wooden Leg, a Cheyenne warrior, took part in the 1876 Battle of the Little Bighorn. Originally called Kensito, he acquired his new name after a leg injury from a fight with a wooden substitute. As a member of the Northern Cheyenne, he was a respected combatant. He took part in numerous battles with U.S. troops, including the fight with Custer's 7th Cavalry at the Little Bighorn. After the battle, he retreated to Canada with other warriors before eventually returning to live on the Northern Cheyenne Reservation in Montana, where he passed away in 1940. Wooden Leg is remembered for providing his recollections of the Little Bighorn to historians, offering a crucial Native American perspective of the battle. His account has been preserved in books and records, providing a distinctive viewpoint on this critical historical moment. Please remember to like and subscribe to help our channel in growing. I was asleep when a sudden noise jolted me awake. Something in the sound scared me. I sat up quickly, listening carefully. My brother, Yellowhair, also woke up. We both sprang to our feet. Chaos had erupted throughout the camps. Distant gunshots echoed. We rushed from the woods to get a clearer look. The shooting seemed to come from the upper part of the village. Our people were scattering, some fleeing west toward the cliffs, others hurrying down the creek. Women screamed, warriors shouted, and elders called out warnings. "Soldiers are attacking! Young men, defend us!" We ran to our lodge. Fear saturated the air. Women desperately gathered belongings for escape. Some fled north or across the river with nothing. Children searched for their mothers, while mothers cried out worriedly for their children. I grabbed my rope and gun, then ran to where our horses were kept. I saw 3 young herders. One was catching bugs. The other 2 were roasting fish over a small fire. I shouted a warning and asked about the horses. Without a word, they leaped onto their tethered ponies and galloped toward the camp. Just then, Bald Eagle's voice called out, ordering them to get the horses right away. 2 more boys were already herding them in. I was breathing heavily. Running was never my strength. I could walk for miles, but sprinting exhausted me quickly. I walked back to our lodge. My father, marked by many scars, had already retrieved my favorite horse from the approaching group. I emptied out my war bag and prepared for battle. I tore off my ordinary clothes and put on a new pair of leggings, a gift from an Oglala Sioux. A fine cloth shirt came next. I kicked off my old moccasins and pulled on beaded ones. My father placed a blanket over my horse and made a bridle from the rawhide rope, soothing the animal. "Hurry," he urged. I worked as fast as I could, but still needed more time. I took my paints and a mirror. Carefully, I drew a blue-black circle around my face, filling it with red and yellow. I combed my hair, tying it with a buckskin strip. Bullets, caps, and my powder horn were the final items. "Hurry," my father said again. So I left my hair loose and unoiled. I leaped onto my horse and galloped after the other warriors. My brother had already charged ahead. He wore a buckskin shirt adorned with crow hair, but thick dust filled the air, limiting my sight. I followed the mass of mounted warriors rushing forward. We moved through the Oglala camp, where countless riders surrounded the soldiers, who fired without stopping. We answered with a storm of arrows. I rode alongside the Sioux, maneuvering around the soldiers until we cut off their retreat. By then, they had taken cover in the timber, some with Crow or Shoshone scouts. Most had already fled. Our warriors pressed closer, raining arrows into the woods. Gunfire replied, but we held our ground. More fighters arrived, surrounding the grove. Fallen soldiers lay scattered in the grass and sage. The rest would not last much longer. Some Sioux moved in close, with torches ready to set the woods on fire. Then abruptly, the soldiers burst from hiding on their horses. I was near where they broke out. I turned my horse around and dashed into a desperate run, just like the others. But they were not chasing us. They were running for their lives, charging across the open plain toward the river. We halted only for a moment before pursuing them. A wave of Sioux joined the chase. My position put me near the front. Their horses moved sluggishly, exhausted. Ours ran like the wind. We closed the gap swiftly. I fired 4 shots. I am unsure if my shots struck their target. Nearby, a Sioux drove an arrow into a soldier's head. Another sank into his shoulder. He fell from his horse. More men dropped from arrows, spears, or the Sioux's stone war clubs. Horses collapsed, wounded, or killed. Our battle songs mixed with taunts. "Go home, boys. You should have brought more soldiers. Was the rosebud not enough for you?" Little Bird and I targeted one soldier. He wore a long war bonnet, riding just ahead. We flanked him, Little Bird on his right, myself on his left, striking his horse on its back. It seemed dishonorable to shoot him, and I needed to save bullets. But he turned in his saddle and fired into Little Bird's leg. Enraged, I slammed my whip's elk antler handle savagely against his head. The blow stunned him. I grabbed the rifle strapped on his back, pulling it free as he sank to the ground. I left him there, alive or dead, I cannot say. The surge of fighters carried me forward, though now I held a soldier's rifle, useless without any ammunition. 3 cavalrymen broke from the chaos, riding back up the valley toward their original position. Sun Bear, Eagle Tail Feather, and Little Sun, 3 Cheyenne, joined Sioux riders in the pursuit. This is what they later told. One soldier turned toward the river and vanished into the trees. The other 2 raced south. One veered right into a gully where he was cornered and killed at its edge. The final man sped toward Reno Creek, then turned suddenly, heading back to the woods across from the creek's exit. He dismounted and hid himself in the brush. Sioux and Cheyenne surrounded him. They said he fought fiercely, firing his revolver until it was empty before dying. Meanwhile, Crooked Nose, a Cheyenne, and Sioux warriors chased a war bonnet scout who fought with the soldiers. The chase continued on foot through a marshy area, then into the northern forest. After exchanging gunfire and desperate running, the enemy scout was slain. I missed all of this. I was busy chasing soldiers fleeing into the river. Warriors packed the riverbanks, clubbing and shooting as troopers struggled in the water. I will never know how many perished in that spot. I swung my captured rifle like a club, knocking 2 soldiers from their horses into the current. Most warriors stopped at the river, but some, myself included, crossed over. On the other side, Whirlwind, a Cheyenne, confronted another war bonnet scout. Above the uproar, a single voice thundered, "I am not allied with the soldiers. I am all Indian, all Cheyenne." The voice of Little Wolf, one of our 4 honored old chiefs, sounded over the agitated crowd. Speaking in our tongue, which many Sioux could not understand, he stood tall among 7 lodges of people who had only just arrived. Yellow Horse, an elder from the Southern Cheyenne, pushed me forward. "You are his kinsman, and you speak Sioux. Act as his interpreter." As we moved through the angry crowd, I saw even some Cheyennes like White Bull, enraged about his wounded son, noisy walking, accusing Little Wolf of aiding the soldiers. When I asked him, the chief's eyes flashed with fury. "You foolish boy, would I bring wives and children to help soldiers? Does anyone think I am a white man's dog?" His chest swelled. "I will fight anyone who says my heart is not Cheyenne." Little Wolf then described how his group had spotted soldiers camped on the upper Rosebud, traveled warily in the dark, found abandoned military supplies, watched the battle from distant ridges, and only approached when the shooting stopped. After I translated his story, the Sioux war chief declared him innocent. Though a few grumbled about his late arrival, the tension eased when Little Wolf's women distributed valuable reservation sugar and coffee to reduce the strain. That afternoon, our people conducted sacred burials. Lame White Man was given honors fit for a chief. I helped in laying his stiff body in a mountain crevice gently. First, preparing a sheltered niche. Second, wrapping his body in blankets and a buffalo hide. Third, sealing the resting place with flat stones. In both Sioux and Cheyenne camps, grief was profound. A patch of thick grass, my exhaustion heavier than the morning dew. The land itself seemed to wait, holding its breath for sunrise. This account is only one thread in the tapestry of that day, a story not just of victory, but of sorrow, watchfulness, and the unbroken spirit of our people. If you wish to come closer to the truths of the Great Sioux War, stay with me. There are more battles to remember, further tales to honor. Until then, may your path be clear and your mind open to the murmurs of history.